Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today, we're going to be talking about Star Wars Legion and the new exciting buzzword you may have heard about, battle forces. What are battle forces? We're going to talk about them, some of the ones that we know about, and then we're going to get into the beautiful, beautiful world of speculation as to what this means, what new avenues this opens up, and which battle forces we're likely to see in the future, because this is an exciting time for Star Wars Legion, where we got a lot of really great stuff that Luke Eddy and Alex Davey were working on, a lot of stuff that really kind of got brought over to AMG, and it's interesting to see where they're going to take this ball and run with it. So with all that being said, if you guys are new here to the channel, be sure to check the links down in the description below. Also, be sure to check out the little subscribe button that's down here and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know one of the battle forces that you're interested in seeing. We usually run a $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. I'm actually going to be announcing winner at the end of this particular video, so make sure you stay tuned for that. All right, so let's go ahead and of course the next giveaway starts tomorrow, so you're always entering for one of them. Also, jump in our Discord too. I'd love to have more people in a Discord chatting with us, talking about the future of these games, speculating, and we're a good, friendly community. You can find links for all that stuff down in the video description. So what are battle forces? Battle forces are basically a new kind of sub-faction. I've talked a lot. I've been really hyped up about sub-factions because, I want my Gungans. I want my Gungans so bad. But sub-factions were, something that was hinted at years ago, and we're finally starting to see the first sub-faction, which will be right here, the Shadow Collective, which is actually coming in its own box. Now, we don't know for sure if all battle forces are going to follow the exact same format as this first one does, but we do know that there will be more of them. So a lot of what we're going to talk about today is going to be, a lot of minimal information of concrete details that we do have, but also a little bit of speculation on what this might mean for the future. So basically, a battle force is basically a faction or our specific army that has some potential changes to the unit structure and what you may or may not want to bring or be able to bring or be allowed to bring or be required to bring. So it allows them some special rules for list building that can go along with a particular Shadow Collective type of battle force versus other battle forces. And one of the things that this can do for a particular build is it might allow certain units that you can't get elsewhere. In the case of the Shadow Collective, you are getting the new mercenary units that can all go into the Shadow Collective, even though a lot of those mercenary units, like Black Sun and the Pikes over there, those can go into potential other factions as well. But they can also all band together to form the Shadow Collective as a battle force. Now, while some of those guys can go in other factions, Maul and the Mandalorian Super Commandos, aka the Mandalorians, or I should say the new Maul also, the Clone Wars era Maul, Darksaber Maul, but this version of Maul and those Mandalorian Super Commandos they're not mercs. They don't just go around in any of the old other factions. They're only going to work as the Shadow Collective, although when they do work as the Shadow Collective, of course, you're going to be able to have access to the other mercs and potentially any other units that are available to be added to a particular battle force. Now, it stands to reason, here's a little bit into the speculation, that battle forces are potentially open to like rules reference guide type of changes. So if another unit that isn't available right now were to come out like next year, since it's Maul and the Darksaber Maul, right? Let's say Savage Opress, right? Well, maybe he's not eligible to go into this unit right now, but maybe he comes out next year and all of a sudden they can be like, oh yeah, Savage Opress. In the same way that Marvel Crisis Protocol kind of does, and I'm not trying to say that they're copying Marvel Crisis Protocol, but there's a lot of things that just make sense here. And in one case, it's those those affiliation lists. They give you a card which says who is an Avenger, but they're not going to list every possible Avenger, because then people are going to be like, oh my god, you're making these 300 extra characters and they're going to be out this year. So they only have, so they can update that online as more characters are available and are eligible to go into this faction. I'm sure they'll be able to update stuff like that and any adjusting rules as need be. So that while that's technically speculation, I don't really think that that's a big leap to say that they'll be able to modify the specific battle forces as they come out. So what else do we know about this? We also know that they're making new cards for the existing bounty hunters in the game to also make those mercs. So cards like Bosk, Cad Bane, and Boba Fett. It's also a very likely scenario that they may also work in the Shadow Collective. That is not 100% confirmed, but since they're supposed to have new cards to allow those units to work, then that is basically coming in this box set. I would imagine that in addition to just being merc versions of those bounty hunters, that they'll also be able to work for the Shadow Collective as well. That is, again, I think not a huge leap, but then again, it's possible that maybe Boba Fett just wouldn't, or whatever. But generally, I think that's what we're looking at. Now, there are other battle forces that are coming. So what else is coming? We know that at least the 4 other factions have had one battle force announced so far: the Echo-based Defenders, the Blizzard Force the two basic Rebels and Empire from Hoth, as well as the 501st and the Droid Invasion for the Clone Wars factions. And so that gives everybody like a little bit of something. Now, when we start looking at some of these, I did choose an at image up there, but it gives you a little bit of a why, it gives you some room to kind of imagine. And there's going to be a lot of speculation here because we don't know how these new battle forces are going to come out. If it's just going to be some kind of PDF that you just be like, oh, well, if I'm running Blizzard Force, all that means is, I have to take either Darth Vader or Veers as my commander, and I can have 3 heavies. It might be something as simple as that. There's one other thing about battle forces we didn't talk about yet. I know somebody's gonna clobber me over it, but in addition to having potential special unit rules and build rules and exclusive units, you also get exclusive command cards that are available only to certain battle forces. So you might be able to get like some kind of intensify forward firepower kind of, some additional kind of AT firepower. I know some people always give me a hard time when I say AT in my videos. There's gonna be somebody who leaves me a nasty gram down in the comments because I say that. And you know what? I've always said that since I was a kid. And I'm gonna go. I saw something online today. Honestly, here, slightly off topic. Doesn't matter how you want to say stuff. If you want to say it wrong, then go ahead and say it wrong. If somebody corrects you, just smile and nod. And if it gives you joy, just say it incorrectly. I didn't even plan that. Anyway, let's just move forward. I should edit that out, but I'm leaving it in. Anyway, so we've Blizzard Force and Echo-based Defenders are interesting. I really can't think of a whole lot that would need to go into Echo-based Defenders that we don't already have. But I can think of a couple of things for Blizzard Force that should show up that we don't have already. For example, maybe a mounted version of General Veers, maybe in an AT-AT, maybe just maybe. I don't know if they'll do that, right? That might be a little bit too wild and crazy, but maybe not. But there's other things like probe droids. Right, we still don't have probe droids, and we've got all the telltale signs of probe droids coming to the game with AI rules, with all kinds of droid-specific rules, and now with the self-destruct rules. There's definitely all the building blocks needed to make some probe droids, and I think that's a pretty cool thing. I think that's exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing probe droids show up in this game because those were one of the things that were in Imperial Assault and that still haven't made it over to Star Wars Legion yet. So I'll be excited to see probe droids show up. But for the Echo-based Defenders, I mean, you've got a different type of turret. You got some different leaders that could potentially show up. I mean, General Riken makes for a good potential commander, although I don't think he should be somebody who's only allowed to do Echo-based because he was a rebel before they were at Hoth. I mean, how do you think he didn't just start up as a young lieutenant and then all of a sudden get promoted up to general the whole time they were there? So yeah, I definitely think Riken would make a good inclusion, and that maybe he just gets extra cards to use with Echo Base, and then of course you could have somebody like Leia who could also work in that faction. And of course, Han and Chewie would probably be available. Like anybody who was there, even Luke. Potentially, you might even see a Luke pilot option for the snowspeeder. So like there's lots of cool little things that they can potentially do, and so I wouldn't mind seeing some of the cool things that they'll do there. Now, as far as the 501st and the droid invasion, I imagine the 501st would be the opportunity to give us an Order 66 type of command card. I can see that being something that's really useful, but potentially broken in certain contexts. So we've talked a little bit. I've done entire videos about Order 66 and how that might work, and I think limiting it to a specific subfaction of extremely loyal clones. Being the 501st, and I think that's a really cool option because it could give all of your maybe all clones gain Jedi Hunter and other things like that, and there's other potential things that you could do, and it doesn't have to work, and like it basically shouldn't work to basically to have your own guys turn on you and stuff. It should be something that's still, it should be fun, I think. But the 501st, I think there's a lot of different options. I think there's a lot of different clone variants that are still undiscovered, and I think it also would allow for an alternate version of Darth Vader, I think it would allow basically for a different kind of Anakin Skywalker who is Darth Vader, kind of leading the last day of the Republic, I think it could do that, but then again, they could make him really strong, almost like Darth Vader level strong. You can almost do the what if in that case, like how strong would Anakin have been had he ascended to embrace the dark side, become Darth Vader, and not lost his limbs? You could make like a really extremely powerful version of him at that point, without worrying about him, ruining the entire faction because maybe he's restricted to only running with clones, and if that's the case, maybe you don't have Obi-Wan or Padme, and Padme helps Anakin quite a bit, and so if he's by himself, then all of a sudden maybe he's a lot more vulnerable to some of the flaws on his command cards and things like that. So like there's a lot of interesting ways that you could develop a 501st. Droid invasion, I just envision that as primarily being anybody who is fighting during episode 1, and you could even go so far as to include Maul there, even though he wasn't necessarily on the big open field battle, but he definitely was on the planet. He was definitely fighting. I mean, and for that matter, Qui-Gon Jinn was there too. And I know there's some people who are going to give me a hard time about saying Qui-Gon Jinn should be in this game, but I think Qui-Gon Jinn should be in this game. I mean, if Darth Maul is in this game, Qui-Gon Jinn should be in this game. Both of them died within like 30 seconds of each other. And I know that Maul survived, but Darth Maul, that Maul, ceased to exist. Or at least half of him did. Okay. Anyway. But yeah, Qui-Gon still, he took on the Trade Federation. He fought. He's recognizable. He would definitely sell, right? I mean, you don't have to. It's easy. It's easy. He was part of the Republic. Before they had clones, but I mean, he was still part of the Republic. And then Gungans, I mean, it's a little bit easier to kind of make Gungans work, right? Like I think most of the stuff that we have in the game for the Separatists, the B1s and the big AATs and then the Staps and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff is recognizable primarily because of the Battle of Naboo on episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and all that entire battle was technically before the Clone Wars, right? And so that's okay. It doesn't, there's a reason I painted both of my AATs in that kind of Trade Federation color scheme as opposed to doing them in a separatist blue and white kind of color scheme. I went with the tan of the Trade Federation because it's recognizable and it looks cool, and just because the Clone Wars starter kind of came to the game like it does, I don't necessarily think that means that everything that comes in has to have been, fighting, during or past the Battle of Geonosis up until Empire Day. I think there's a lot of leeway that we can give for the sake of fun and for the sake of recognizability and marketability too. So yeah, I think we should get Qui-Gon. But anyway, I'm like going way off topic here, but basically, so So what are we going to get after this, right? Like what new different sub factions are we going to get? I think Mandalorians is an obvious one. There's all the building blocks for a Mandalorian faction. I think there's always the chance that maybe they're holding off to see what Mando season 3 brings or the Book of Boba Fett brings. There was like these dragon battle tank things that they have had. We used them in the RPG for a little while. Like that could be an interesting potential thing. It might be a little OP, but I mean, there's all kinds of really cool Mandalorian specific types of you know, all the different armor suits, all the different sub factions, all the different, like every faction in the game has their own kind of sect of Mandalorians that kind of, whether it's Death Watch or whether it's the Night Owls or whether it's Din Djarin's crew and his whole little thing from season 1, or whether it's the Concord Dawn Protectors, or there's Mandos all over, and so it's really going to be really exciting to see them all kind of come together, and I hope that they can all potentially come together, and and even if you have to make multiple different battle forces, maybe make 4 different battle forces of Mandalorians, and there's a little bit of crossover in different ways. Maybe people get different unit cards. Like if you want to run Sabine with somebody that, like with the Empire, maybe they have like a cadet Sabine Wren, when she was in the academy and stuff like that. Like there's all kinds of little ways that you can make it work. But no, I think it's going to be exciting. So I think that's a great one. We already talked. Ewoks are coming, right? They already confirmed Ewoks 2023 for the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary. I think Ewoks is a definite way to get a battle force, also as a unit that maybe can just work with the Rebels also. So I think you can work them 2 ways. You can have Rebels and Ewoks plus just Ewoks themselves. I think that's exactly how I think battle forces should work. You should be able to run them just by themselves or as part of the parent faction if it's going to be like a sub faction battle force. Wookiees is also a shoe-in. I mean, with all the Wookiee stuff that we're getting, I'll be really shocked if we don't see a Wookiee battle force and soon. Gungans and Geonosians, both of which were hinted by Luke and Alex at an Adepticon from I think 2018. I mean, it's been a long time, but they've already talked about wanting to do that stuff. Maybe it was early 2019. But yeah, Gungans and Geonosians, absolutely, they're wanted. They're wanted to be seen. I'm sure they will. But yeah, they're exciting. I think you can do other stuff too. The Hutts have a lot of room to put stuff in this game. Plus, they have the vehicles. They have the sand skiffs. The skiffs, oh my gosh, the skiffs would be amazing. Imagine if they had like turrets and you had to like be in base contact with the turret and interact to actually fire it, and so you'd actually have and make it'd be its own whole mini game too. Because then I'm like jumping over and boarding other people's ships, and it'd be like almost like pirates over the Dune Sea. You could have Saw Gerrera and his partisans. So there's lots of rebel sub factions also. There's so many really cool options, and I think that it's very exciting to think about all the cool things they can do. And the last thing is, we don't know how battle forces are going to come out, whether it's just going to be card packs or PDFs or what. But since that command cards are one of the things that you can gain from those, I think there'll be some kind of purchasable thing. Maybe General Riken comes with all the stuff you need to run Echo-based defenders, as a battle force or something like that. It might be a single unit that really makes the difference, and that's where all the extra cards come. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Shadow Collective starter comes with maybe more than one set of Battle Force stuff. Who knows? It might come with all 4 of those, the Echo-based Defense Blizzard Force. I don't know. But if not, then wouldn't this be a great opportunity to start getting reprints? Ever since they switched over to hard plastic, there have been some people who wanted to see, and I'm one of them. I definitely want to see at least some characters redone on the frame, on the sprue, in the hard plastic and the higher quality. This is really apparent for when you look at like the early Stormtroopers and everything was in that soft plastic, and then we got our Stormtrooper upgrade pack when they were I guess those were still soft plastic too, but you're seeing how much everything is improving. And so as you're looking at the improved characters, you kind of saw this with clones too. The first clones were in some of the soft plastic, and then the phase 2s and the ARC troopers are some of the best we've ever seen. So just imagine what a whole revamped Stormtrooper Corps would look like in the hard plastic, and maybe some new sculpts or whatever. So, if you're doing Echo-based, or if you're doing Blizzard Force, for example, it's a great opportunity that you can repackage some snowtroopers in that also offers, hey, here, if you're looking for snowtroopers, here's another way to get them. There's, it's still basically the same unit. It's just an extra one. Plus you get some goodies in here. Oh, and by the way, they're on a frame this time. Boom. And doing things like that is a great opportunity to get people the reprints that they were looking for. And I'd love to see it, especially for how many people out there. I wonder if Legion was one of their first minis games. Legion was not my first minis game and not my first game hobbying, but I think it was the first game where I had to start doing sprue, cutting, the bits off of the frame and sprue and like assembling them. Because Imperial Assault had minis and they were in a bag, right? And early Legion had minis and they were in a bag. But once Clone Wars started coming out, and that's when in the droids, and we had to actually start clipping and building all of the minis, it was like it became a little bit more serious for me. And so I've noticed like a lot of change in ability when I look at some of my first Rebels. I'm like, ooh, and even my early Stormtroopers, I'm like, ooh, it's a little cringe, and so it'd be really cool to like go back and, instead of having to strip the soft plastic ones, just have some all new ones and do the comparison shots too. So that'd be a really fun thing to do. So anyway, I hope it offers a good way to get reprints out there, especially for people who maybe can't get certain products or are looking just for upgraded version or better poses. And then lastly, I wonder if AMG will use that as an opportunity to put a tactical rock on every single character. I hope they don't go with tactical rocks on all the minis, just because like a lot of times people want to base their stuff on those deluxe bases, like interior Death Star kind of bases or whatever. And I'm sorry, not every place in Star Wars has rocks on the ground. There's a lot of times people are fighting on board a space station or on board a ship or inside the Millennium Falcon or, and just a place that might not have, or in Camino or whatever. There's a lot of different battlegrounds and they don't all have rocks, so... Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens, but that's all I've got for you guys today. I want to thank you guys for hanging out. Big thanks to my patrons. And wait a second. I did say we were going to announce a winner, didn't I? I did. All right, so our winner for the $25 Amazon gift card giveaway is going to be Kaylin Mitchell. Congratulations, Kaylin. I almost forgot. Go ahead and shoot me an email at mailcrabbok@gmail.com, and I'll get your contact information. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you did not win, don't worry. There's going to be more giveaways. Next one starts right now. So be sure to make sure you're subscribed. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think of Battle Forces. What are you looking forward to seeing? Because we should be getting some. Hopefully, we'll start getting some more news. I know that a lot of the Kashyyyk wave stuff has been delayed. We'll probably talk more about that. But there's so much speculation we could do, and it'd be really fun to do some double critical episodes, talking about specific, like kind of outlining what you'd like to see in Battle Forces. So I think that would be a fun one. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. I want to thank you all for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are amazing, and I couldn't do this without your continued support. So thank you guys for watching, for sticking with me, and make sure you don't super glue your feet to the floor.